You are playing a challenging and unforgiving game. You will not be led by the hand. Respect the woods. Be patient. Focus. Hey everyone, Grand Marshal here, and happy Halloween! With the month coming to a close, I hope you all had a good excuse to be playing some scary games. If you do happen to have one more scary game left in ya, I've got a recommendation for you. I know. The recommendations are Caleb's shtick on the channel, which you should go watch, seriously, he does a good job. But he's kind of a big fat coward when it comes to horror. That and spicy food. So settle in, because I'm here to tell you about Darkwood, and how my early experiences with the game have been some of the scariest I've ever had. Over 4 years ago, a small 3-man team from Poland named Acid Wizard Studios got together and decided they wanted to make a horror game. They put out their first pre-alpha video of their game Darkwood on March 5th, 2013, and I was hooked. It took about a year, but eventually released in a work-in-progress state in 2014. What I played was simply the first zone of the game. It was pretty good, but it still needed a lot of polish and tuning. After my fiddling around with it, I uninstalled it and waited patiently until it finally finished up. 3 years later, it dropped in August, and man, it's so worth it. So I've been rambling around this whole time and I haven't even described what Darkwood actually is. Well, for starters, it's a top-down survival horror game with melee, shooting, and scavenging for supplies. It takes place somewhere out in Eastern Europe, where an unknown plague has been spreading, and the area has been cut off due to the rapid growth of the woods around it. You are an unnamed soul with just a key and a picture of the road out of this nightmare. Your task, if you can do it, is to simply escape. I'm just gonna say this now. If you think that's a walk in the park, you'd be very wrong. That little intro I have at the beginning of this video was not for flavor. That's actually what the game tells you every time you load up your game to play. And it stays true to its word. It doesn't explain any game mechanics besides how the controls work in the prologue section. You just get thrown into the world and it basically says, good luck! But the game respects you enough as the player to be able to figure it out, to gradually get better as you continue to play. Thing is, even if you get stuck and feel like starting over fresh, it's still hard to get a leg up on the game. There's actually some slight procedural generation on where the key locations appear in the zone. So besides major locations, there's just no way to actually remember where a nice spot of loot is. So you might be asking, how is this scary? You're just walking around the woods collecting random supplies while maybe dealing with a rabid dog or two. Well, if you didn't check the stove the minute you first spawned into the house, you might not have read the important bit about the house being the only safe location you have at night. And also, while you've been dilly-dallying trying to figure out what to do, you've been burning sunlight. The ground gets a little more orange over time, signaling to you that it's probably a good time to head back home. If you were smart, you would have already been finding a specific room to camp down in, one with few entrances. You would have hopefully barricaded the windows and doors, followed by blocking it with any furniture in the house. See, if you were smart, you might have decided to not turn on the generator outside the house. Sure, the glowing of the lights inside make you feel secure, but if the lights are on, something outside lurking in the shadows might also know that the house is occupied. So you huddle in the corner in the dead of night, pitch black, hoping that the footsteps you hear outside go away. You try your best not to get curious and look through the barricades or even the cracks in the walls of your room, because if you see something out there, chances are it can also see you too. After what feels like an eternity, the warm ruby red sunrise creeps out of the dark to signal a new day. You catch your breath, refortify your surroundings, then head off into the world to figure out how to get out, knowing that the next night, there might be something a little worse. Unfortunately for you, the nights do get worse over time, especially when you start needing the light out of necessity and not as a luxury. All the while, the suspense of the world is terrifying. The good kind of horror that doesn't rely on cheap jump scares. It's the kind of horror that slowly builds and keeps building, making you skittish of your own shadows. I'm still trying to figure my way through the first zone, trying to get out and making my way to the next safe house, and I've been having a blast. I've heard that beyond the first zone, the scare factor does decrease, but honestly, those first few hours of the game have been some of the most intense I've ever felt in a horror game. Even if you don't have the $15 to spare on hand for it, Acid Wizard Studios has their own torrent of the game online you can find and download. So if you do download the game, try it and like it. By all means, please try and support them if you can. They've made what I consider one of the best horror games to come out in years, and I hope you have a chance to get scared by it as well. If you own the game and have had some scary moments, please let me know in the comments below. If you liked the vid, maybe hit that like button. It really does help out a lot. Thanks for watching, everyone. Happy Halloween, and I'll see you next time.